Hey y'all, Laura, peaks for pounds. Thanks for tuning in to Blue Blaze to Health, episode 3. It's all about setting SMART goals in this episode. SMART goals. It's the acronym S.M.A.R.T. A SMART goal is one that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. We're going to talk all about SMART goals in this episode, Blue Blaze to Health. Before I talk about goals, SMART goals, I feel like I probably should give you a little bit of a backstory on how I've always set goals in the past. I've always aimed pretty high, I must confess. If there was a mile to walk, I wanted to walk 1,000, or 2,200 most recently. If there's a hill to climb, I set my eyes on Everest. There's always this go big or go home mentality I had towards setting goals. And I'm sure some of you, a lot of you probably can relate to that. Yeah, New Year's morning, you wake up with your New Year's resolution list, and top that list all through my majority of my adult life was lose weight, and it was always some huge number. This is the year I'm going to lose 100 pounds. This is the year I'm going to run a marathon. Well, confession, that was never on my list, but you get the point. The goals are set high, and it's not because we're any bad intention. It's just because we, and I'm speaking of us collectively, my fellow folks out in YouTube land who have a tendency to do this, we see this big picture, we see this thing in the long, far distance, and we want to aspire towards reaching that point. Nothing wrong with that. The problem is those huge goals can be so far away that we lose our stamina in reaching them. That's what a SMART goal is all about. And I didn't make that acronym up. I saw it somewhere on the internet somewhere. But it makes a lot of sense because it's kind of like my next stump method. Might not make it to the top of that mountain, but you see that stump just ahead, I'm going to get there. Then I'll set my sight on the next stump, so on and so forth. The problem with setting huge goals, ones that might not be entirely realistic, is that all too often, speaking for myself here, I've set myself up for failure. Getting partway in and realizing that, man, I bit off more than I can chew. And that's any goal. That's not just things like hiking the Appalachian Trail or anything like that. That's any big goal. You get burned out. Your eyes are set so far in the distance that you don't really have a feasible plan on getting there. That's where a SMART goal comes in to play. All right, SMART goal. The first letter in the acronym SMART is S. That stands for specific. A SMART goal is specific. What I mean by that is when you set a goal that is SMART, it's something that is clear and precise and as dialed in as possible. I'll give you an example of a SMART versus a vague goal. We'll go back to the AT, the Appalachian Trail. Let's say your goal is to hike on the Appalachian Trail. That's a great goal. I can get behind it. But it's pretty vague. That could mean anything, anywhere from Georgia to Maine, right? Or Maine to Georgia, depending on which direction you're going in. That's not dialed in that good. But say your goal is, I want to hike a 20-mile section of the Appalachian Trail. Okay, you're dialing it in. But still not specific enough. 20 miles can be anywhere. To make that goal a SMART goal, you want to focus as narrowly as you can. A SMART goal would go something like this. I want to hike the 20-mile section of the Appalachian Trail in Georgia from Springer Mountain to Woody Gap. That's specific. That's a specific goal. Lovely section, by the way. So the first letter is S for specific. All right, SMART goal. It's specific. And the second thing that it is, it's measurable. And what that means is you can measure your progress. You can plot a course, if you will. We'll go back to our AT example. Specifically, you want to hike a 20-mile section on the Georgia AT from Springer Mountain to Woody Gap. A measurable goal would carry on in the fashion that says, I propose to do this by hiking 5 miles a day. Or my first day, I'm going to go from Springer Mountain to, let's say, Hawk Mountain Shelter. That's a little bit more. That's more like, I don't know what, 8? Am I right? Somewhere in there? 8.5? Okay. That's measurable. Or I propose to hike this 20-mile section over the course of 4 days. Something specific, something measurable. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, third letter in our fun little acronym, A. A stands for attainable. Is your goal attainable? That goes back to the beginning of my little chat here, in which I confessed that I have a tendency to set my goals way too big. My goals aren't always attainable as I set them. Okay, so what's an attainable goal? Back to the AT example. You want to hike a 20-mile section in Georgia on the Appalachian Trail from Springer Mountain to Woody Gap. That's specific. It's also measurable. You can plot your course. But is it attainable? Have you ever set foot on a trail with elevation? Are you like me, hiking at sea level? You maybe do a max of 1 mile a day? Have you trained properly? Do you have the right gear? Are you accustomed to camping? Do you like camping? All these things, all these questions come into play to determine whether or not your goal is attainable. So your answer is no, I've never done that. I don't even know if I would like it. Then let's talk about whether that goal is attainable. Maybe we need to redefine it a little bit more. If you've never camped in the backcountry and you're not even sure you like it, maybe dial that goal in a little bit more and say, specifically, I want to hike on the Appalachian Trail in Georgia. I want to spend 1 night at an AT shelter to see if I even like it, and then hike back out. Okay, that's specific, that's measurable, and it's probably attainable. Because if you have any type of desire and you've hiked even a little bit, you could probably get up to the first shelter there at Stover Creek. So, specific, measurable, attainable. The first 3 letters of our acronym for a SMART goal. All right, y'all. For a goal to be SMART, it needs to be relevant. Relevant to the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is you. If a goal is SMART and it's specific, measurable, and attainable. It has to be relevant to where you're at in life, where you want to go, your desires, your hopes, your dreams, those things. It's got to be something that is going to pique your interest and hold your interest. Back to the Appalachian Trail. It's always back to the AT, y'all. You're going to hike a 20-mile section in Georgia from Springer Mountain to Woody Gap. We've determined that this is attainable. You can do this. But is it relevant? If you like backpacking, it's relevant. If you don't like the greater outdoors, it's not a relevant goal. If you don't like camping in the backcountry, even though you could do some hostel hopping, that's very doable to hop hostels that entire section. But let's just, for grins and giggles, say no, you don't like camping, you don't like roughing it in any kind of way, and you're just going to get out and see if you're going to do this and then never do it again. Might not be a relevant goal. But if you have a desire to one day hike a larger section of trail, or heck, through hike the entire Appalachian Trail, then I would say your goal to hike 20 miles in Georgia from Springer Mountain to Woody Gap is a relevant goal. It's relevant to your bigger picture. And that's key. Your bigger picture. It's got to be something that speaks to you and to your interests to be relevant. All right, the final letter in our SMART acronym is T. T stands for time bound. It's got a time stamp. Time bound means you got a deadline. There's a deadline to accomplish your goal. So we're going to hike 20 miles on the Appalachian Trail in Georgia from Springer Mountain to Woody Gap. That's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant to what you want to do. Now we need to set a deadline. A SMART goal has this deadline looming ahead of you. You're going to commit to doing this thing by a given date. So if you say, I'm going to hike these 20 miles in Georgia from Springer to Woody, and I'm going to do that in October of this year. That's a SMART goal. Even smarter if you said, I'm going to do that the third week of October. Narrow it down. The time-based part, the time-bound portion of that SMART goal is what holds you accountable. You've got a deadline to accomplish this goal of yours. You've narrowed it down. You know you can do it. You're confident that you can do it. Doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, but you feel like it's in your wheelhouse and it's something that's relevant to other goals, to the bigger picture. Now you set your timestamp. Now you're ready to go. You've just created a SMART goal. SMART goals can apply to anything. It doesn't have to just be hiking or any athletic endeavor. It can be how you go about setting goals in life for things like getting a better job, buying a new home, putting your kids through college. SMART goals are really about coming up with something specific and creating a plan to get there. And heck, that's good to get us through life, isn't it? All right, y'all, that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. To recap this series, I have course corrected my journey. I am now on the Blue Blaze to Health. Check. I've gotten a full checkup from my doctor. I know exactly where I stand. I know what my abilities are and what I need to work on. And I'm good with starting where I am. Check number 2. And finally, I'm ready to start making SMART goals. Goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Check number 3. So I invite you to join me on this Blue Blaze to Health and set some SMART goals of your own. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see here, you want to follow the rest of my adventure and all of my journeys here, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, y'all, stick with me. I'm going somewhere.